It's really all the various expenses that you can claim while working from home and working remotely. When you can prove that you work more than 50% of your total working time at home, then you may also deduct expenses. I think the very important aspect or requirements to note when you're talking about the remote work and who may deduct and what you can deduct. So the first requirement is really to figure out who actually may deduct office expenses, and that I classify that as home expenses, home office expenses, but that's actually not really home office expenses. It's really all the various expenses that you can claim while working from home and working remotely. So when we go down the list, if you own your own business as a sole proprietor, obviously you may claim probably the most expenses that there are to claim. You may claim those expenses, and then if you're working as an independent contractor, so independent contractor can be you're working for a number of people, a number of clients. Or independent contractor can merely be you're working for one company, but you're working from home as an independent person. So there's no strict working hours, there's no strict control over your work. So you really are a person that can work, what do you call the word, but flexi time. So you can always, you don't have to work 8 to 4, 8 to 5, you can work, doesn't matter what hours, as long as you get to meet a certain deadline and do the certain work. So that is the only difference really between an independent contractor and when you own your own business. Both are really sole proprietors. It's just the way of maybe dealing with it with clients and how you deal with that. So, and then the second thing, and that was always the case regarding employment and deductions. If you earn more than 50% of your total income on your salary or total package from your employer, then you may deduct various expenses. So just do the calculation of looking at your total salary that you receive on your payslip, or rather on average on your IP5 for the full year period from March till February. So if your commission is more than 50% of your total income on that IP5, then you may deduct expenses. And then the new thing that actually came to light, specifically during COVID-19 during lockdown, was when you can prove that you work more than 50% of your total working time at home, then you may also deduct expenses. So what I would suggest from my side is two things. Get a letter from your employer to state that you actually working more than 50% of your work time at home. And the second thing that I would suggest is to keep a kind of a logbook or a timesheet to actually prove to SARS that you worked more than 50% of your time at home. So that's very important, and I think that's pretty much what triggered this session today as well. Was that portion that was included now in the deductions in the Tax Act, especially during COVID-19, and I think going forward, I think a lot of people will start working remotely or continue working remotely, and I think that will probably be the new normal going forward for a lot of companies. For those companies that actually that it obviously makes sense to do that. So on the first page, really just make sure that you can deduct all these various expenses, and the bottom two is most important. If you are employed with somebody, that you receive more than 50% of your total commission. More than 50% of your total commission is more than 50% of your total income is commission, or more than 50% of your time spent for your employer are actually spent at home. Two very important aspects. Thank you for watching. just a quick reminder to grab your gift pack for entrepreneurs in the link below. It's a gift pack for entrepreneurs to the value of 57,000 Rand, free of charge. All you need to do is activate it. Part of that gift pack for entrepreneurs is a voucher of 3 months for 3 months free accounting services from a company, Dryk Holdings. All you need to do is activate the gift pack voucher in the link below, and we will be in contact with you as soon as you've done that. So I'm quickly going to go through the typical home office expense that you can do, and that most will be probably already know. But I just want to run through it, and I've done it in a previous webinar as well. But yeah, home office expense is very important in the sense of you calculate the business square meters and the total square meters of your house. It doesn't matter if it's your rental property or your personal property. Business portion must be exclusively used for business, and that's very important. You can't use dining room where you will eat and use for the family as well, and sometimes clients. You really need to use the specific space that you exclusively use for the business. So it might be a spare room in your house. It might be obviously a study, that the old school study that you potentially have in your house. So that is the kind of, and it's important to have both of them. You must do the calculation according to business square meters to the total. And then, like I say there on the bottom, beware if it's your personal home. So if it's your personal home and you deduct the expense for that, at the end, when you actually sell your property, you get a 2 million Rand capital gains exclusion on the sale, on the first portion of the profit on that selling of the home. So it's very important that you just keep in mind when you do this expense and claim this expense on an annual basis on your tax return, you would need to claim back or add back, as part of that 2 million, add back that business portion as well when you get that exclusion on your capital gains tax. So just bear that in mind, that you, if you potentially would resell your property for a massive profit, then I would suggest maybe not to do this expense, or at least speak to your accountant before you start claiming these kind of expenses. And just a kind of a calculation on this is to show you is you can claim gardening services for your property, the insurance on your property, levies if that's applicable to you, your municipal charges, so your rates and taxes, and electricity, and then rent paid I've put in here. So it's either the rent paid on your property or the finance charges on your bond. So it's not a full installment on your bond, but actually just the finance charges as part of your bond. And then security I've also added here. So you would add up all these kind of expenses, this whole amount, and then you would deduct the private portion, and or just calculate. We just like to show the private portion as well, but then you get to the business portion. So this amount, 93,000 of the total 420,000, will actually be the amount that this taxpayer will be able to claim in their tax return. So just a little exercise to calculate that. And then I thought, well, to just put in some other expenses as well, to give you an idea of the expenses that you potentially would be able to claim. So very first, travel expenses, that include a car rental. If you currently, obviously, a lot of people don't travel, but a car rental, airplane tickets, guest houses, self-catering kind of places where you need to stay over if you need to travel for work. And then also included that is your travel expenses regarding your vehicle. And I've explained that quite extensively in a previous webinar, but very important, based on your vehicle expenses, you can claim your depreciation on your vehicle on the cost price over a period of 5 years. You can claim the finance charges on that hire purchase or installment sale. You can claim fuel, repairs and maintenance, your license, insurance, all those kind of expenses you are able to claim, but to the portion of the pro rata portion of business to private, and that is very important that you keep a logbook very accurately. A logbook needs to be kept for each and every day that you drive and each and every trip. So very intensive. If you don't do that, SARS will most definitely, if they order that logbook, will most definitely add back that travel expense that you try to claim. So make sure that your logbook is up to date and correct before you actually submit that. Number 2, entertainment. So if you need to, during this time, can't see clients at your home, but you need to see clients, let's say at a coffee shop or restaurant, expense that you need to keep. Very important again regarding a logbook. Keep your slips and write down who you actually met at the coffee shop. Very important. State the person's name and state the company where that person is from. So typically SARS these days will, if they audit entertainment, and something that they really like to audit is they would want, we generally send them a detailed ledger, so the detailed ledger from the accounting program. We would try to send them, if it's possible, the slips from the client, and also then a logbook with a list of all the clients that the client actually entertained. Number 3, subscriptions. So in the new world of remote work, you might potentially have subscriptions to a variety of things, but quickly the thing that comes to mind quickly is Zoom. So if you need to subscribe to Zoom, sometimes I know I've got a pro license to that, so it costs me about 200-300 rand per month. If you need that, you can actually deduct that as well. Right, and then telephone and internet, telecom, a mobile phone, and your internet. If that's not everything is combined, you can claim that. I would just suggest that you actually deduct a portion of private use for each of those expenses. If SARS do audit that, you can show to them that you actually add back some of the private expenses in that expense. Then lastly, the one I've got on my list is equipment. So you might, in this time, or to get your office ready, you might need to get some equipment. You might need to get a new laptop, some chairs, a printer, whatever the case may be. Those kind of expenses can all be deducted. If the expense is more than 7,000 rand for the actual cost price, then that will be divided into 3 for depreciation, and you can claim it in a period of 3 years.